Right, so I'm kicking off Feile Vegan then in terms of the talks, and this is one I started doing about 11 years ago. This is the last version of it, in a sense. So I kind of, if you like to introduce people to their own movement, because a lot of people joining the vegan movement don't know much about the history of it, so it's really good for them, as it were, to learn. When I talk about these people, I'm not saying that they were new at anything in terms of, plant-based eating or caring about our fellow animals or anything like that. What is unique about these people is that these were the first people to come together and organize a social movement. Okay, so this is what they did. This is actually from a sociology dictionary. It's a nice, concise definition. An organized effort by a significant number of people to create or resist, that's where you get the movement, counter-movement idea, social change. So that's where we are. So the only thing I'm saying about these people is they were the first ones to organize a social movement. Not that they were first at anything else. Really, of course, they did name it as well, and named it veganism. This is a quote from Donald Watson, who's the best known co-founder of the vegan social movement, and he's been quoted by Matthew Cole, who's a sociologist, and this is a chapter in a book, 2014, The Greatest Cause on Earth. We'll come back to that, because that's what Donald Watson said veganism is. And so Watson is saying that the details of the origin of the movement should always be interesting and vital if a movement is to remain faithful to its precepts. So throughout his life, Watson made periodic appeals for people not to lose track of where they came from in terms of the aims and aspirations of social movements, because the problem is with social movements is that's what actually happens to most of them. They start off a lot of radical ideas, really big ideas, and then there's moderation when there's professionalization, these kind of things. And this is kind of what's happened to the vegan movement. The case studies in social movement theory, which I've kind of taught and written to some degree, are things like Greenpeace International, not to be confused with the anarchist group, which is Greenpeace London, and also in terms of the animal advocacy movement, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, which started in 1980 and was a rights-based radical group associated with people like Gary Francione, and now it's just a corporation essentially. But that is what happens a lot to social movements, and unfortunately it happened to the vegan social movement.